Welcome, rare gems. What if silence was never weakness, but proof of power most people can't understand? The Sigma female doesn't need to be loud to be strong. She doesn't announce her every move or explain herself to be taken seriously. She carries a different kind of strength, one that's built quietly, behind the scenes, in moments no one else sees. Her power doesn't come from being noticed. It comes from knowing herself so well that she doesn't need to be. She's not quiet because she has nothing to say. She's quiet because she's learned to think before she speaks, to watch before she moves, and to feel without the need to perform. That silence protects her peace, her values, her boundaries. And in a world that often rewards the loudest voice in the room, she chooses clarity over chaos. This kind of woman can't be swayed by empty praise or surface-level connections. She's already done the inner work. She's learned that not every invitation deserves a yes, and not every conversation deserves a response. That's what makes her rare. That's what makes her dangerous to anyone who thought silence meant surrender. If you are a Sigma female, or you're starting to see those qualities in yourself, don't let this world convince you that your quiet nature is a flaw. It's not. It's your edge, it's your discipline, it's your protection. The truth is, the loudest strength often leaves the quietest trail, and yours is leaving a mark no one will forget. Let's dive in deeper to unravel. The 12 hidden truths behind Sigma. Female silent strength. Number 1. She isn't hard to approach. She's just impossible to fool. That's the real difference. She's not closed off. She's not rude. She's just aware, very aware. And that awareness changes everything. Most people are used to wearing masks. They smile when they don't mean it. They say things for effect. They tell half-truths and expect others to play along. But a Sigma female doesn't play that game. She sees straight through it. Not because she's trying to catch people out, but because she's trained herself to notice everything. The hesitation in your voice, the flicker in your eye, the story that doesn't add up. She's learned from experience that not everyone who comes close comes with good intentions. So now, she watches, quietly, intently, and that makes people nervous. Not because she's aggressive, but because her silence doesn't give them anywhere to hide. Fake people feel exposed around her. They can't control how she sees them, and that's what scares them the most. This is why some people call her intimidating, not because she says too much, but because she doesn't need to say anything to make you feel seen. The truth is, she doesn't make people uncomfortable. People make themselves uncomfortable when they realize their usual tricks won't work. She won't embarrass you. She won't confront you. She'll just quietly make her distance clear once she sees through the surface. And that silent exit, that says more than any argument ever could. For example, you could lie to impress her, thinking she won't catch it, but she will. Maybe not with words, but with patterns. She'll notice the inconsistencies. She'll clock the missing details. And she won't even flinch. She'll just know. And from that moment on, you'll feel the emotional door quietly close. So no, she's not hard to approach. She's kind, she's thoughtful, but she is someone you cannot deceive. That's her real power. And that's why people either respect her deeply or disappear. Number 2. She's not strong for a woman. She's strong because life gave her no other option. That strength didn't come from reading motivational quotes or watching inspirational videos. It came from real experiences, the kind that leave marks you can't always see. This is the woman who kept showing up even when everything inside her wanted to shut down. She's the one who dried her own tears quietly in the bathroom before stepping out like nothing happened. Not because she wanted to act tough, but because she had no choice. People were depending on her. Or worse, no one was. And she had to be her own backup plan. No one handed her strength. It didn't come with encouragement or support. In fact, most of the time, the people around her questioned her decisions, doubted her instincts, and made her feel like she was always too much or not enough. But she kept going, quietly, determined, resilient. She made hard choices, the kind that don't get praise, choosing peace over chaos, walking away from people she still loved, saying no to things that drained her, choosing herself without needing a round of applause. That's the kind of strength people don't talk about enough. She doesn't ask for sympathy. She doesn't need validation. What she's built inside her is solid. It came from pain, yes, but also from clarity. She learned how to protect her peace like it's sacred, because it is. She fought battles in silence, healed without a support group, and created her own meaning out of broken moments. You don't always see what she's been through, and she won't offer it up as a story. But if you look closely, you'll notice something unshakable in the way she carries herself. Not loud, not proud, just real, just steady. And that's a different kind of power, one that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. Number 3, she has a soft heart, but it's wrapped in barbed wire. That's not bitterness, that's experience. She wasn't born guarded, she became guarded. She became that way because somewhere along the line, being open cost her too much. She gave people chances, real chances, the kind that come with patience, loyalty, and vulnerability. But some took advantage of that softness. They mistook it for weakness. They thought they could lie, disrespect her boundaries, and still be welcomed back with open arms. That version of her doesn't exist anymore. Her heart is still kind. It still feels deeply. She still cares, probably more than most. But now, she doesn't hand out access so freely. She pays attention to consistency, not charm. She notices how people act when they are no longer getting what they want. And that's when she decides. Not based on words, but based on patterns. Imagine trying to enter a room with layers of security. That's how it is now. The door to her heart still exists, but it has locks, it has questions, it checks intentions. And if you make it inside, you better believe you earned it. This doesn't mean she's cold. Far from it. In fact, if she trusts you, she will show you the most loyal, nurturing, and emotionally intelligent version of herself. But if you cross her, she won't explode. She won't beg. She'll quietly remove your access, and once you're out, you don't get back in. Some people don't understand this version of her. They say she changed, and they're right. She grew smarter. She grew stronger. She realized that kindness without boundaries becomes a magnet for users. So now she protects herself like she once protected others. Her softness is still there. It just comes with a warning now. Handle with care, or don't handle at all. Number 4. She doesn't crave power. She craves freedom. A lot of people chase positions, titles, and influence, thinking that's what strength looks like. But for her, it's different. She's not trying to lead anyone. She's not interested in controlling outcomes or being the loudest voice in the room. What she really wants is space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to be fully herself without explaining it to anyone. She's not the type to force her way into the spotlight. In fact, she'd rather be somewhere quiet, somewhere she can move at her own pace without being micromanaged, misunderstood, or molded into something she's not. Her version of power is peace. Her version of success is being able to say no without guilt and walk away without permission. This is a woman who values her mental freedom more than material gain. She doesn't want to be trapped in obligations that don't feed her soul. She doesn't want to wake up and feel like she owes the world a version of herself that no longer fits. She'll turn down promotions if they come with chains. She'll let go of people who want to shape her into something easier to swallow. She doesn't need to dominate others. She just needs to live without being dominated. For her, freedom is being able to think without noise, to create without judgment, and to love without pressure. She doesn't want power over people. She just wants power over her own life. And that's exactly what makes her unstoppable. Number 5. She doesn't overshare, not because she's shy, not because she's guarded out of fear. She stays quiet on purpose. Her silence isn't accidental. It's strategy. While everyone else rushes to fill the air with stories, opinions, and confessions, she sits back and watches, not in judgment, but in observation. She pays attention to what people say when there's no bait, no emotional hook, no vulnerability offered up to build fake closeness. That's where people reveal themselves, when they think they're filling a gap, but she's actually giving them the floor. Her restraint is often misunderstood. Some assume she's cold or uninterested, but what they don't see is that she's doing something most people never do. She's listening to the spaces between words. She's reading the discomfort. She's watching how people behave when the spotlight isn't on her, when there's no story to respond to, no pain to comfort, no weakness to exploit. She knows the world is full of fast talkers, people who fake intimacy, people who know how to mirror emotions and pretend to care. Oversharing too soon gives them tools. It tells them what to imitate. So instead, she withholds. She listens. She lets the silence stretch until people either lean in honestly or expose themselves trying to control it. It's not a wall, it's a filter, and it works. Because those who stay comfortable in silence, those who ask without prying, those who speak without trying to impress, those are the ones who might get to know her. Everyone else, they tell on themselves, one nervous sentence at a time. Number 6. Her strength isn't loud because it never had to be. She doesn't raise her voice to be taken seriously. She doesn't put on a show to prove she matters. While others demand attention or fight to be heard, she stays calm, collected, and focused. She knows real strength doesn't need an audience, it just needs action. She's not interested in dominating conversations or being the center of the spotlight. Her presence speaks in ways most people miss, through how she holds herself, how she makes decisions, how she handles being underestimated. She doesn't need to argue or explain. She lets her silence do the heavy lifting. When someone crosses her, she doesn't explode. She doesn't beg for understanding. She simply pulls back, quietly, fully. And when she's gone, people feel it. Her absence becomes a mirror. It shows people exactly what they lost: stability, honesty, depth. That's when the silence hits louder than any words ever could. She's mastered the power of walking away without drama. No public goodbye, no emotional mess. Just a quiet exit that says everything. Her strength is measured in self-control, in choosing peace over ego, in knowing when to speak and when to leave the room. People who never valued her while she was present often realized too late that she was the calm in their chaos, the one who never needed praise to do the right thing. So no, she doesn't scream for respect. She doesn't beg to be seen. She moves on, and the echo of her absence does all the talking. Number 7. She doesn't give second chances. She gives you enough rope. See, a Sigma female doesn't rush to judge anyone. She doesn't react based on gossip, pressure, or emotion. She watches, she listens. She lets people reveal who they really are, not by pushing them, but by giving them room. That's her quiet genius. She knows the truth always comes out when you're patient enough to stop interrupting it. She doesn't need to set traps, she just lets you talk. And if your story shifts, if your actions start to drift from your words, she'll notice. You won't hear her call it out. She won't corner you, she'll just mentally take note. And once she sees the pattern, it's already over. Her silence is not permission, it's data collection. And while most people mistake her calm for forgiveness or forgetfulness, they fail to realize she's simply watching them hang themselves with the rope they were handed. She gives people a fair shot. But once she sees through the performance, she doesn't argue. She doesn't confront. She disconnects, quietly, permanently. And that's what hits the hardest. Not the drama of a fight, but the cold realization that she's already gone while you were still talking. Her forgiveness has limits. It's not built on guilt or social pressure. It's built on truth. And if you break that, she won't keep handing out chances just to prove how big her heart is. She knows the value of peace. She knows the weight of repeated disrespect. And she knows when to stop giving what is no longer being valued. So no, she's not heartless. She's just done making room for people who keep walking in with muddy shoes. You get one door, one key, one chance. If you waste it, she won't change the locks. She'll simply move to a house you'll never find. Number 8. She's emotionally fluent, but you'd never catch her putting on a show. Sigma females feel everything. Deeply, sharply, sometimes painfully, but they don't make emotions a public event. You won't find her pouring her heart out to strangers for sympathy. You won't see her using tears to win an argument or turning sadness into a spotlight. She doesn't perform feelings. She processes them. When something hits her hard, she doesn't immediately react. She steps back, not to avoid the emotion, but to understand it. She lets herself feel fully, but she does it privately, where no one's watching, judging, or offering shallow advice. She believes emotions are real, sacred, and powerful, and because of that she treats them with respect, not performance. In a world that rewards loud emotions and instant reactions, she stands out. People might think she's cold or detached simply because she's not dramatic. But the truth is, she's just learned that vulnerability isn't about oversharing. It's about knowing who deserves to witness your inner world and who doesn't. She's fluent in the language of feelings. She understands her moods, her triggers, her joys, and her disappointments. She doesn't need to be told how she feels. She already knows. That's why she doesn't crumble easily or lash out when pushed. She can feel deeply and still keep her composure. That's strength most people can't even recognize. While others seek validation through emotional display, she seeks understanding. She asks herself the hard questions. Why am I really upset? What is this teaching me? How can I grow through this? And once she's processed it, she moves forward with clarity, not chaos. That's the difference. She's not emotionless. She's mastered the art of feeling without needing to perform. And that makes her steady in a world full of emotional noise. Number 9. She doesn't argue. She observes, adjusts, and disappears. For a Sigma female, arguing feels like noise. It's not that she can't defend herself. She absolutely can. She just doesn't see the point in wasting her time and energy trying to convince someone who isn't ready to listen. Arguments for her are emotional traps. They're bait. They pull people into chaos, into circles that go nowhere. And she has no interest in spinning her wheels to prove a point. She watches instead, carefully. She pays attention to how people behave when they're angry, when they're challenged, when they don't get what they want. That tells her everything. She doesn't need long debates or dramatic confrontations. Your actions are the only argument she needs to hear. If something feels off, she won't yell. She'll step back. She'll go quiet. She'll adjust how she engages. And if the behavior repeats or the respect is gone, she'll disappear. Just like that. No warnings. No dramatic exit. No second round. This is not avoidance. It's discipline. She values her peace far too much to sit in emotional crossfire trying to prove her worth. She knows who she is. She knows what she brings to the table. And if someone can't see it, she's not going to shout louder. She's going to stop showing up. Picture this. While someone is mid-rant, listing accusations or trying to guilt trip her, she's already made the decision in her mind to never have that conversation again. By the time you realize she's done, she's already long gone. Mentally, emotionally, and soon, physically. She doesn't need to win the argument. She doesn't even need to be right. What she needs is peace. And the moment you threaten that, she stops engaging. Not because she's weak, but because silence, distance, and emotional clarity are her strongest weapons, and she knows how to use them well. Number 10. She's quiet because noise makes her lose herself. It's not that she doesn't have something to say. She does. In fact, her mind is always working, always turning things over. But she's learned that most of the world doesn't actually listen. It just waits to respond, to impress, to dominate. Conversations have become competitions, emotions have become content. And identity, it's often just another performance. She doesn't play that game. She's not here to outshine anyone or prove she's smarter, wiser, or more evolved. What matters to her is staying grounded in who she really is. And for that, silence is essential. It's her anchor. It's where her thoughts breathe. It's where her real self comes up for air. In a world that's obsessed with being seen and heard, she chooses something far more powerful: stillness. Not because she's avoiding life, but because she's protecting what life kept trying to take from her: her clarity. Think about it. Everyone's talking, everyone's performing. Social media, group chats, even casual conversations. It's all coded in ego and pretense. People speak to be liked, to be retweeted, to be admired. But when you strip all that away, very few know who they actually are. She does. Because she chooses silence over noise, reflection over reaction, substance over spectacle. So when she's quiet, don't mistake it for emptiness. She's not checked out. She's tuned in to herself, to what feels real, to what deserves her energy. Her silence is her filter, her compass, her shield. It keeps the ego out. It keeps the noise out. And most of all, it keeps her centered in a world constantly trying to pull her away from herself. Number 11. She doesn't use silence to punish, but to protect. When she goes quiet, it's not about playing games or getting even. It's about keeping herself safe. Safe from unnecessary arguments, from emotional messes, from people who don't know how to respect her peace. Her silence isn't cold. It's intentional. It's her way of stepping back before things turn ugly, her way of staying in control without letting things spiral. Most people are used to loud reactions. They expect shouting, slammed doors, dramatic messages, but she doesn't give them that. She won't beg to be understood. She won't compete for attention. What she will do is disappear. Not out of pettiness, but because her dignity means more than winning any argument. She's not interested in proving a point through volume. She doesn't need to scream to be heard. Instead, she raises her standards, quietly, firmly. She decides who gets access, who gets explanations, who gets the version of her that listens and gives, and once she sees that someone can't meet that level, she simply pulls back. And here's what really stings: her silence says everything. It says, "I've seen enough." It says, "I won't lower myself to match your chaos." It says, "This door is now closed." The ones who mistook her kindness for weakness often realize too late that she was never passive. She was patient. And when her patience runs out, there are no warnings, just absence. That kind of silence is sharp. It lingers. It echoes. It makes people reflect in a way screaming never could. Because silence from someone who once gave you her full presence, that hurts in a place no loud words ever reach. Number 12. She values authenticity more than popularity. You can't buy her attention with clout. You can't win her respect with smooth compliments. And you definitely can't sway her with group opinions. A Sigma female doesn't care about being liked by everyone. She cares about being real with herself. That's her non-negotiable. She's not impressed by followers, titles, or trends. She's not interested in what everyone else is doing if it means losing her own sense of direction. While others shape-shift to fit in, she holds her ground, even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means standing alone. There's something different about her presence. She's not chasing applause. She's not filtering her truth to please a room. If something feels fake, she'll step back, quietly, fully, because she's more loyal to her own values than to anyone's expectations. Imagine being in a group where everyone's agreeing just to keep the peace. She won't play along. If something doesn't sit right with her, she won't pretend it does. Not to avoid tension, not to be polite. She'd rather be the lone voice of honesty than one more echo in a room full of masks. People like her aren't always popular, and that's fine with her. Popularity comes and goes, approval fades, but self-respect, that's the one thing she refuses to compromise. She doesn't need a spotlight to feel valid. Her validation comes from knowing she's not selling a version of herself she can't stand. That's real power. And it's why the ones who truly know her know they're in the presence of someone rare. In final words, the strongest voices are often the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've already said it to themselves first. The truth is, Sigma females are wired differently. Their strength doesn't shout. It doesn't demand recognition. It exists in the way they carry themselves through chaos without needing applause. They don't need anyone to understand them in order to keep going. Their silence isn't emptiness, it's presence, it's control, it's focus. They don't build their lives around trends, attention, or approval. They build it on self-respect, discipline, and emotional clarity. And that's what makes them rare. In a world full of noise, they choose stillness. In a culture obsessed with more, they choose depth. They feel everything, but are mastered by nothing. That is not weakness. That is power refined. If you're a Sigma female, understand this. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you are not too quiet for this world. You are simply operating on a level that few are brave enough to reach. While others rush to be seen, you are rooted in knowing who you are, even when no one is looking. Let others crave the spotlight. Let them chase the loud kind of power. Yours is built in silence, shaped by pain, and sustained by peace. Keep honoring your instincts. Keep protecting your space. Keep growing in your own way, even when it's unseen. Your quiet strength is not invisible, it's unforgettable, and those who truly matter will feel it even long after you've gone. Thank you for watching The Rare Gems, and God bless you.